What's going on, guys? Welcome back to the Bench Mob. My name's Danko and with my co-host Marcus today. In today's video, we're going to actually be dissecting the top 10 centers going into this coming NBA season. So every day over the next week, we're going to do each position, the top 10 players from those positions, and then rounding it out with a top 25 list. We've both come up with our own top 10 list here, but pretty much we're going to alternate with picks. We're going to toss a coin, and then whoever wins the coin toss will go first, and then it'll alternate all the way down to the number one slot. So it's going to be a bit controversial. We'll probably likely have left some guys out that the other person may have. And then definitely the rankings will be completely different for both of us here. So don't roast us in the comments. It's all part of the fun.
If your favorite player gets missed out on, don't come for us in the comments spamming this and that, because look, this is just our perception. Top 10 lists are just made for fun. Obviously, we've got to get some of these right, we've got to get some of these wrong, but at the end of the day, look, that's what the fun is about, I guess. So yeah, I'm super keen for this, if you can't tell.
Marcus, if you want to toss the coin.
I actually don't have a coin on me, but
if you've got one in front of you.
I'll flip a pen. So we got the tail of
all right.
Obviously the words right here, and the tail of the no words right here. So, do you want to be words or
I'll go
blank?
I'll go no words.
You go words.
No words.
It looks like you will be selecting with the 10th overall pick to begin the draft. So, nevertheless, take it away.
The number 10 player, the number 10 center going into next season. This might cause a bit of controversy, but I have Alperen Şengün from the Houston Rockets.
Oh, whoa.
Yeah. Yes. So the reason why I've got him on the number 10 slot is I believe that what we saw from him last year, obviously improvement from his rookie season, and just his, flashes that he showed, which were very similar to a guy like Nikola Jokic. I'm not necessarily saying he's going to have the same ascension or trajectory in his career going forward, but everything we saw on the court, the way he was able to pass the ball, his improvement on his three-point shot, which is likely to improve this season as well, and his ability to, rebound at a really high clip. I think those numbers are only going to go up, and I think with the added addition of some veteran presence in that Houston Rockets team, in the likes of Jeff Green, Dylan Brooks, Fred VanVleet, it's only going to help him grow as a player and obviously get that mentorship from those older guys, which has probably lacked at the Houston Rockets the past few years. So for him to then also have a coach in Ime Udoka who hopefully trusts him to be able to play that kind of a role, that point center role that we see a lot of the current teams have, in terms of like a guy like Domantas Sabonis at the Kings, and obviously, as I mentioned, Nikola Jokic, and to some extent as well, you're probably going to look at it, Yusuf Nurkic at the Suns is probably going to play a similar role as well. So if Şengün can obviously continue to improve and improve his production, and if he can play regularly 30 minutes per night on the court, then I think there's no reason why he can't have that breakout and really ascend into that top 10. And this is a sort of a conservative selection at number 10. I think there's a possibility, depending on how his season goes, that he could end up pushing higher on this ranking, but I just wanted to be conservative in this particular instance. And I think the only question mark with him will be his defensive side. I think we've seen with all the great centers in this league, even Nikola Jokic, people question his defensive ability, but that's one thing that I believe that is very underrated in his game. And obviously all the best centers in the league are always able to play both sides of the ball. So I think if Şengün can improve on that side and at least be a serviceable defender, then I think this will be a justified selection here at number 10.
Yeah, no. I like the pick, to be fair. If I had the 10th pick, I would have gone probably a more controversial route and selected Jalen Duren. So, look, you can't really come from in the comment section knowing that I would have picked someone who averages 9 points and 9 rebounds, although he is a rookie, but I think he is bound to break out and have a phenomenal season. But nevertheless, with the 9th pick in the 2023-24 Big Man Draft, I will be selecting none other than Indiana Pacers' Miles Turner. I think last year he averaged 5 more points last season compared to the previous year. He averaged 13. So Turner averaged like 18 and 8 with 2 blocks a game. I think with the ascension of Tyrese Halliburton, he's only going to get better. And I think maybe this could be the year that he finally breaks out and becomes that all-star big guy that we all know that he could be if he really wanted to increase his shooting load. But nevertheless, how could you dislike a guy like Turner? He shoots 55% from the field. He takes threes, and he's one of the few big guys who is an elite three-point shooter. And yeah, he plays at both ends, and I think he's just a phenomenal talent. And I couldn't figure out a reason not to put him in my top 10. So Miles Turner will be the 9th pick.
No controversy there because I had him at number 9 as well. Yeah, I think there's one thing that will definitely help him this coming season. I think, in the past couple of years, he's had all those constant trade rumors about, possibly departing Indiana, especially with that logjam that there was once upon a time with Domantas Sabonis, obviously holding down one of those front court slots, and it's sort of, it may be impacted on his ability to reach his full potential. But yeah, now that they obviously have a full season of Tyrese Halliburton under their belt, and they sort of know how each other's games work, and I think they both complement each other really well. I think it's just going to just improve on that production that we already saw, and the improvement of the increase in that production, I should say. And also the fact is, now he can just, like I said, focus consistently on just playing good basketball and not having to worry about where his future lies. And I think it's going to be a scary tandem, and I think you'll really see the best out of Miles Turner going forward in the next season, or even 2 seasons.
Yeah, 100%.
Well, with the 8th pick in the big man draft, or the center draft, I should say. This one, I was struggling to decide who I would put in. I had to chop and change this quite a few times, but eventually I've settled on Kristaps Porzingis, the Porzingod, the unicorn at number 8. I know this is a bit of a stretch, but based off what he did last year, averaging nearly 24 points per game, 9 rebounds, 1.5 block shots per game, I think it was I couldn't leave him out, or I couldn't put him at 10, because based off what production and what he's done over the last 5 seasons of his career, I think it was warranted that he is a top 10 center well and truly. And I think the only question mark this season will be, again, he's had years where he's managed to stay on the court entirely, but then there's other years where, he struggles to stay healthy, and it obviously impacts on the team. We've touched on this previously with the time that he spent with the Dallas Mavericks, him being hurt in that playoff run during the bubble definitely impacted on their potential to, be a championship winning team. And then obviously another question mark of his is whether he can play second fiddle. We saw it with Luka. He wanted to be the man, but then obviously they knew that was Luka's team. And now he's gone to a team where there's 2 bona fide superstars and an all-star player in Drew Holiday. Can he fit within the flow of that offense and be able to be willing to take that back seat? I mean, there'll be times where his numbers call, definitely, and he'll need to carry the load offensively, but I think the only question mark with him will be, can he be willing to take that lesser a role on offense, and how much will that impact on his numbers going into next season? But one thing's for certain, he'll be defensive matchup nightmare, especially with his size and being able to shoot over pretty much anyone. And then on the defensive side of the ball, I think he really brings another layer to that Boston Celtics front court defense that we haven't seen in the last few seasons. We obviously know they had Robert Williams, but Porzingis is 7'3" with really good footwork, and he's got good timing when a shot goes up to be able to block it and just contest and make life difficult for anyone that's sort of coming into that painted area. So for that reason, I have him at number 8. But again, I can understand why some people might have him lower, or in some cases even have him higher. But I think 8's a good mark for Kristaps Porzingis.
Yeah, I think I had him a bit higher at 6, but it's interesting seeing the routes we're going with. Like, you've gone with the more, versatile big guys, and I'll get into my next picks in a minute, but from what it seems like, I've gone the more traditional big guys. And with the 6th pick, I'll explain here why. I have picked Nicholas Claxton. I think this guy, he's...
7th pick.
This is the 7th pick.
You said
6th.
Sorry,
yeah, with the 7th pick.
Yeah.
With the 7th pick, I'll be selecting Nick Claxton. This guy, I mean, he's a traditional big. He blocks a lot of shots. I think he was ranked 3rd in the entire NBA for block shots. He averaged around a double-double, and I think once KD and Kyrie left, he said it himself, he kind of fell out of that defensive player of the year conversation, and he doesn't really understand why. But I think Claxton, there's a lot of upside there. If he can become a better scorer, I think there's no reason why he can't be in that top 10 big guy conversation. And I think already he's such a talented player, just with what he brings. Like, obviously high percentage shots, and a lot of those are dunks, but he blocks shots, he dunks, he rebounds, and he does everything you want your big guy to do. He's really gritty out there. So I think he's more than deserving of a top 10 selection, but I could see how on the other side a lot of people would find that a little bit controversial ahead of some other blokes. But it is what it is. 7th pick, Nick Claxton.
Well, yeah, I can see why it was controversial, because I didn't even have him in my top 10. So at 7, I had DeAndre Ayton. But yeah, I think I'm trying to work out here who I can put at the 6. Do I put DeAndre Ayton, or do I put the guy who I actually had at 6? So that's going to be an interesting one. I can't leave DeAndre Ayton out.
This is a really hard position to draft from, and whatever pick you take here, it's probably going to change the entire landscape of this draft moving forward, I think, for the next couple of picks. But very interested to hear what you have to say here.
Fucking hell.
Go with your gut.
Shit.
Go with your heart.
I think I'm going to go as much as, I think I'm going off production from last season. And I think there's question marks here still with this guy, but I am going to go with this guy here. Jaren Jackson Jr., I'll go at number 6. So the reason is reigning defensive player of the year. Obviously, was everywhere for the Grizzlies last season, averaged 18.6 points, 6.8 boards, an impressive league-leading 3 block shots per game. And he was efficient from beyond the arc, shot 35.5% from the 3. I think he needs to add a few more different moves and be able to add a different string to his bow on the offensive side. And I think he also probably needs to learn how to contest without fouling, because we saw how many times in last year's games, he was fouled out or he was in early foul trouble. And I think you can't be considered the most damaging defensive weapon in the NBA if you're not out there for the full 35 minutes that a team requires you to be there. If you're only playing 25 minutes a night, that 10 minutes when you're not out there could prove the difference between your team winning a game of basketball or losing a tight matchup. So I think if there's any question mark about Jaren Jackson, it's like, that would definitely be the biggest question mark of his, is can he stay out of foul trouble next season? And obviously, can he add a few different moves to his game and not be so perimeter oriented on the offensive side of the ball? But I think what he brings to that Memphis Grizzlies team, and if he can continue to improve offensively and add more production on that side of the ball, then there's no reason why he can't even be higher on this list. But I thought number 6 was fair, even though it might be considered harsh considering he was Defensive Player of the Year last year.
I like the pick. I think for me, JJ, I had him as a power forward because I had Steven Adams as the center, but I could obviously, moving forward for the Memphis Grizzlies, I think you're right. He probably will be playing center moving forward, but I just completely forgot to put him on my list. And I think the next pick I'm going to take, this has got to shapeshift our entire list, because I know for a fact you had him as a center, and as a Lakers fan, I had him as a power forward, but I know AD, he wants to play power forward, but the Lakers are kind of sold with almost having him as a center, as their backups are Jackson Hayes and Christian Wood. And it's really tough. But look, if AD is saying, I want to be a power forward, I think you kind of got to listen. So AD is not on my list. And for that reason, I have the 4th pick here, correct? No, 5th pick here, correct?
5th pick, 5th pick.
5th?
Yeah. Yeah, number 5.
5. Okay, so this might be a bit controversial, but I'm going with the newcomer, the former number 1 pick in the NBA draft, none other than DeAndre Ayton. I think this is the year he becomes that number 1 option. I think he takes 18 and 10 from last year, and I think he turns that into 20 to 22 and 12, and he has a dominant year, and the Blazers win more games than expected. They make a play-in spot. Ayton looks great, and I think moving forward, that is the franchise cornerstone for the Portland Trail Blazers to build around, much like a LaMarcus Aldridge. That might be bold, But at the end of the day, we're doing a list, combining last year and using this year also. And I think if there's anyone to step up this season, I think it's DeAndre Ayton. He's going to get a lot more touches. He's never taken over 15 shots a game. This is the year he takes that reins, and he takes probably like close to 18 shot attempts per game, and he has a monster year.
Can't disagree with what you said about DeAndre Ayton. You've thrown my whole draft off now. But yeah, no, he's going to have a massive year, and I think, we saw last year he had 18 and 10 in a team that had D-Book and Kevin Durant, and at some points of the year, obviously Chris Paul as well was taking up some of those shots. So the fact that he's now on a team where they have a completely fresh start, a young core, he's going to be a centerpiece of that offense, and I think he's going to thrive, and hopefully they can also unlock that defensive potential that we know DeAndre Ayton is capable of. He's 7'1" with a massive wingspan, super athletic guy. There's no reason why he shouldn't be one of the better defenders in that front court position or from that center spot in the entire NBA. So I think it's a mindset thing for him, but if he can definitely improve on that mindset and be willing to defend, then there's no reason why he can't be one of the best two-way centers in the entire league. But yeah, now you've thrown me off completely.
Bit of a whirlwind, and it kind of excludes Anthony Davis probably from the top. I mean, it doesn't, but it means, obviously one of these guys will probably fall out. Well, they have to, of the top four, that being obviously AD, Sabonis, Embiid, and Jokic. But look, that's what these top 10s are here for. We're not here to give everybody their due respect. What else is there to talk about if we can't, discuss these talking points? Something has to be controversial. That's why these lists are made, and not everyone can be happy. But at the end of the day, hey, that's the beauty is in the eye of the beholder.
Can I do 4A, 4B?
Huh?
Can I do 4A, 4B? Because I feel I'll be terrible.
I mean, I think everybody here watching knows how good Anthony Davis is. Like me as a Lakers fan, obviously I'm a fan of AD, but it's just, that's what it is. Like, to me, he's a power forward. Obviously, he's a center as well, but if he wants to play power forward, I mean, yeah, you can do 4B, but I think, when we put together the top 10, there's not going to be a B, but you can say it. I mean, up to you. Okay. Do a 4B, because we can't leave him off.
I know, I was going to, because then the reason is because if I include this next guy, then you're not going to include AD, which means that for the top two, I'm not going to. So it's kind of going to throw the whole list up. That's the only reason. I don't want us to get roasted in the comments.
Please don't roast us, please.
Yeah, but no, I'll go technically 4, but if I was going to go a 4B, it would be Domantas Sabonis. So I'll say he's number 4. I'm not going to go 4B, but then I'll justify who I had after that. So yeah, I think Domantas Sabonis, the only reason I didn't have him maybe slightly higher than this was because of his defensive weaknesses being a glaring weakness for him in the playoff series, which hurt them in their opening round against the Golden State Warriors. I think despite that, obviously you can't discredit what they did, him and De'Aaron Fox helping the Sacramento Kings to their first playoff appearance in 17 years, which was the longest drought in American sports history at the time. He had 19.1 points per game, the league-leading 12.3 rebounds and 7.3 assists per game. So his production definitely can't be understated, and I think what he did for that team, and there was question marks about that trade and whether it was the right move, especially giving up a guy like Tyrese Halliburton, who's had a tremendous year with the Indiana Pacers this past season. I still think it was one of the right moves to be made for the Kings, especially because then you let De'Aaron Fox loose and you have a guy that can complement him in a different way. But yeah, if he can improve defensively next year and improve on that little mid-range area and, add something on that part of the game, because I think that's what they let him take a lot of those short shots within about 5 foot and 10 foot, and he missed a lot of them during that series. So if teams can defend him in that same way that the Warriors did in that playoff series, we might see a bit of I guess his production being taken a little bit of a hit, I should say, going into next season. So, but other than that, I think, what he does as an all-rounder in terms of being able to do everything on the court as a center at 7 foot is incredible, and I think that's the reason why I've justified him being in this number 4 slot
Yeah.
for the top 10 centers this coming season.
I refuse to take Anthony Davis, so I'm still not going to be taking him because I'm not going off my power forward thing. I'm sticking to my guts. I'm sticking to not putting AD on the list because I guess that is what I prepared to do, and I just put too much time in this list for me to kind of, get rid of that and not do it. So
Totally
I
fine.
mean, originally I did have Bam Adebayo at pick number 3. Bam, I mean, what more can you say? He's one of the few players in the league who can take under 15 shots per game and average 20. Just imagine if he was taking 18 to 20 field goal attempts per game. He'd probably be in the likes of a Joel Embiid and Nikola Jokic. And like when we look at scoring production as you look at Embiid, he's taken like 6 more shots than a guy like Bam per game. He's a great two-way player, and with that, I mean, he's great also with the ball in his hands. He makes plays, gets assists. He averages close to 4 assists per game. And I think he's the engine for that Miami Heat team. He makes them go, and when he's up and about, it's almost unstoppable to, stop the Miami Heat when Bam is doing his best work. But then again, if he's not, they're just a completely different team, and he's the X factor, I think. He makes them into championship contenders, but he also, if he's not up to play, he's the reason why they could get bounced in the second round.
Yeah, I think, you're spot on there. I think that, Jimmy Butler is a super important player, and obviously, the depth they had last season going into the playoffs definitely, was a major part in them getting to the finals. And obviously a bit of a stroke of luck with Giannis's injury in that first round series. But I think the way you look at it, in terms of what he does, like I mentioned just before, a combination of being able to score from, the mid-range, the painted area, off lobs, from the dunker spot, being able to rebound at a high rate, both offensively and defensively, and then to be able to facilitate the way he does from that center slot, and then, to be able to defend at a high rate on pretty much any offensive player that comes in there. He can guard the opposition's best player night in, night out, and even out on pick and roll switches, he's really good at moving his feet with smaller guys that are sort of penetrating the lane. What he brings, I think he's their most important player on an overall perspective, because what he does on both sides of the ball and how crucial he is. Without him, and without him playing to his full potential, the Heat aren't the same team, like you said. So I completely agree with that. Who I would have had at number 3, personally speaking, I know you've snubbed this guy because he's not a center, he's a power forward in your eyes, is Anthony Davis. So that's the reason, that's why I had him at number 3, and that's why sort of my whole draft board got thrown off. So, but yeah, I can understand why, because there were times where he was playing power forward, and then there was other times where he was playing center. But I think his best position is the center spot. And then there are questions whether he'll stay healthy as well. So I think there's arguably, you can make the case, if he can stay healthy throughout the whole season and not just play 56 games like he did last year, you could almost make the case that he's in that top 2 conversation with the likes of Nikola Jokic and Joel Embiid. But there obviously are big question marks about that, and if he can stay completely injury-free, then there's no reason why he can not only be the defensive player of the year next year, but there's a chance he could, depending on how well the Lakers play next year, be a MVP candidate 100%. But yeah, my number 2 slot, I'll have Joel Embiid, the reigning MVP. So I couldn't have him at number 1 only because of the fact that, Nikola Jokic is just completely dominant, won a title, finals MVP, proved that he was the best player in the league with that playoff run. So I still think you can't take away from what Joel Embiid did this past season. Again, scoring title, MVP, averaging 33.1 points per game as a center, 10 boards, 4 assists, 2 blocks per game. Like, he's a complete player on both sides of the ball. The only thing is, we've talked constantly about whether Nikola Jokic can be that winner in the playoffs after, playoff failure after playoff failure. But now the spotlight is well and truly on Joel Embiid, and if he doesn't hit that particular level that we saw, or that ascension that we saw with Nikola Jokic in the playoffs, and if he can't prove that he can be a winner in that particular setting, then unfortunately he's just going to be one of those guys that, he's going to be renowned to be, a really good regular season performer, but goes missing when it's really, really important and when they need him the most. So for that reason, I had Joel Embiid at number 2.
Yeah. No, I think, you can't really mess up the 1 and 2 slots for this big man or center draft. With the first pick, we'll end it off here. Nikola Jokic, NBA champ, MVP, one of the best playmakers that this game has to offer, one of the best scorers that this game has to offer, and one of the best blokes that this game has to offer. I think Nikola Jokic will once again be an MVP candidate, if not the MVP of the league. You just got to admire greatness when you see it. I don't think there's any debate about who the number 1 guy is, and I don't even think I need to ponder and talk about how good Jokic is, because we already kind of know how good Nikola Jokic is. So, that pretty much wraps it up. But that was a crazy draft, man. If we just go through it, we had Jokic at 1, obviously, Embiid at 2. We had Bam at 3.
Sabonis at 4.
And then Aiden at 5.
Yeah, Jaren Jackson Jr. at 6. Then we had
Nick Claxton.
Who do we have at 7?
Claxton at 7.
Yeah, Nick Claxton. Porzingis at 8, Miles Turner at 9, and then Alperen Şengün at 10.
Yeah.
I think it's a good list.
I do too.
Personally. I think there was obviously some controversy there, and there's always question marks with these tweener kind of players, or players who can play 2 roles.
AD.
Like even Porzingis at one point in his career was considered a power forward when he got drafted, and now he's become a center, obviously just because of
circumstances,
lineup requirements. So there's a lot of these players that can have that sort of mindset. Even Miles Turner, you could argue that at some points when he was playing with Sabonis, he was playing at power forward, which wasn't his ideal position. But yeah, you can get through the list here and name any of these players and say that they could have played either the 4 or the 5. But that's what these lists are for, and there's always going to be some controversy, and that's the whole fun of it and what makes it exciting. So let us know what you guys made of this list, and whether we got it right, whether we got it wrong. You're probably going to say you guys don't know basketball, but that's fine.
100%.
Entitled to your own opinions.
Yeah. If one of you guys' favourite players are Brook Lopez, Walker Kessler, Wendell, Vooz, Gobert, Capella, or Anthony Davis, look, I expect you to come for me, or both of us, in fact. But at the end of the day, look, it's a top 10 going into the season. I think we did a pretty good job. But yeah, I'll let you sound this off. Yeah. That's all I have to say.
Yeah, couldn't agree more. And we look forward to doing more of these, obviously, for the remaining positions, and then rounding it off with our top 25 list. And we're going to continue to do it in this format where we alternate the picks, because I think it just makes it a bit more exciting and throws a few curveballs in the works.
Spontaneous.
But without further ado, this has been your boy Danko from the Bench Mob. If you haven't already subscribed, make sure to do so, because we're nearly at 1,000 subs, and we're going to do a jersey giveaway really, really shortly once we hit that 1,000 sub mark. But yeah, pretty much that wraps it up from my end.
It's been Marks from the Bench Mob. We've appreciated having you guys on the channel today. If you guys did enjoy this type of content, let us know. Not only these player drafts, but we want to do top 25s. We want to do breakout players. But if there's any ideas that you really want to see, and you did happen to stumble across this video, comment down below what it is, and we'll probably execute on it. But nevertheless, I think that's about it.
Peace out, guys. See you next time.
Boom.
That was good, bro.
Hello, yes, you at home. This is Commissioner of the NBA speaking to you, Adam Silver. Here's a message in courtesy of Bench Mob in collaboration with the NBA Store. When Bench Mob hits 1,000 subscribers, they'll be giving away a free NBA jersey to a lucky subscriber. So just do all the things listed on the screen. Goddamn.